Hello, everyone, and welcome to our second episode of this podcast in English. We are Deplin, a Romanian podcast about being in flow and alignment with life. I am Mara, and she's Andrea.
I'm Andrea, what we wish to do through this conversation is to explore different ways in which we can feel better with ourselves, and different ways in which we can bring to attention interesting connections between the physical body, the mind, emotions, spirit, and the surroundings. So thank you for being here and listening to us. And our guest today, Mara, will tell you a few words about her.
Our guest today is Aneta Grabiec, a psychologist-nutritionist, mindfulness facilitator, wellness advocate, hormones and fertility expert, and author. Aneta lectures, runs wellbeing retreats, and works internationally with her clients. As her company name says it, she is the wellness designer. Welcome, Aneta.
Hello, goddesses, co-hosts, and everyone who is tuning in to listen and watch us. And let me express my gratitude, how privileged I feel to be here, and that you accept me sharing my experience in English. I actually woke up earlier today and I was going to learn few phrases in Romanian because I love the country and the culture, but I felt, you know what, this podcast is for educational, not entertainment reason. Let's do it in English. Thank you so much for putting up with me speaking English, and next time I promise I will speak some Romanian. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. It's honestly a privilege to have you here, and we really thank all our audience for being available to English episodes. We did have this conversation at some point before our first episode, and most of our audience agreed to some episodes like this. I'm really happy for you to be here. I'm happy for talking about endometriosis, and just I'm happy to share you with Andrea and with the world, because I met Aneta when I was during my first university, I don't know, a few years ago, when I rented a room in her Airbnb. And then I just remember how fascinated I was by our encounter. You were the one introducing me to daily green smoothies, and and also sharing so much of your knowledge about wellness and well-being. And yeah, at that point in my life, I've never met someone so knowledgeable in holistic health, and I was deeply fascinated, and I'm really glad that we kept our friendship going. So here we are.
I'm so happy to hear it, and that passion and sisterhood is mutual. You know, it's just, I love what you create in your life, and also sharing this podcast with the world and with women to help them to educate themselves. I believe knowledge is power, and when we empower ourselves, especially about our body's emotions, then we can advocate for ourselves and make decisions that will be good for us and for everyone around us as well.
You know, the reason why we're doing this endometriosis podcast is me and Andrea, we had a conversation at some point, and at which we said, how about doing episodes about issues that our friends have? And I'm just keeping in mind one of my dearest friends that is going through, that recently went through an endometriosis surgery. And just also all women that go through this challenging condition. Yeah.
Shall we maybe start with explaining simply what endometriosis is? Because through my experience, well, I will tell you my personal story, but also the stories of my clients. And when I first started menstruating, and I just thought it was pretty normal, then I was told by my grandmother, oh, it won't be so painful when you have children. So I'll tell you what was painful. It literally felt like someone was stabbing me in the stomach, literally kicking, with a lot of cramps, with a lot of mood swings, and with very heavy menstrual bleeding with a lot of clots. So that's just one of the symptoms of how endometriosis may feel for women. What endometriosis is. So simply speaking in a very casual language, so we don't sound like we medical students. In our beautiful womb, also called uterus, we've got endometrial lining. And what's fascinating about female body is that this lining gets cleansed and sheds off every month. So we menstruate, we're clearing the womb. That means pregnancy didn't happen. Then we come to ovulation when estrogen or estradiol, there are different types of estrogen, but just stick to one female hormone name for the purpose of this podcast, is increasing. That it reaches its peak. That means that ovulation may happen. When ovulation happens, an egg meets sperm, about 8 days after, conception happens. And when conception happens, endometrium, which is that space, the floor of the uterus, is thickening because it's preparing to host this embryo. That means bleeding doesn't happen. In case where pregnancy doesn't take place, endometrium is shedding off, and this is where we come with the monthly bleeds. So endometriosis is the condition when the cells of endometrium grow outside the uterus. And where those cells can grow? They can grow around our organs. It could be, in most cases, it could be at the back behind the uterus, which could be around the guts microbiome. So many women will complain about sharp back pain or back along the leg, because this is where inflammation happens. Then it could be around bowel movement. So this may contribute to diarrhea or the opposite, constipation and sharp pains around your liver as well. But it could be also around your reproductive organs, which is your ovaries and fallopian tubes. When that happens, that it may cause infertility and even further painful complications. So this is endometriosis. Now, when we think what else may entitle towards the painful conditions, we also have endometritis, which is simply speaking a sort of imbalance and inflammation in this endometrium, in that layer, in that, I would say, flooring of our womb. And another condition that very often accompanies endometriosis is adenomyosis. And adenomyosis simply is just endometrial cells growing within the womb, but not necessarily within this endometrium lining. Now, about 90% of women with endometriosis will have symptoms which I've mentioned. Could be that very painful periods, could be the pain all month long, could be the pain during intercourse, could be heavy bleeding, could be cramps, could be a lot of emotional challenges as well, because when hormones get affected and when this nicely synchronized orchestra gets out of balance, let's say one of the hormones, estrogen, is very high, which is very typical for women with endometriosis. That means progesterone is lower. When progesterone is lower, that means our whole cycle is out of whack. That means our moods will be not where we want them to be. Our sleep will be affected, and we will be more reactional than responsive to their words. So that's simply speaking what endometriosis, but I also wanted to explain what endometritis and adenomyosis is. And you mentioned that your friend, that podcast, this episode was made because of people around our lives. And when I was at first, I wouldn't even say diagnose, because the only way to diagnose endometriosis is actually to have this surgery operation called laparoscopy. That's the only way. You may be having a scan, vaginal scan, and that scan may just say that you've got some sort of inflammation, and they may say, we suspect that endometrial cells are outside the endometrium, but that's just a suspicion. The only way to actually see what's going on is to go for laparoscopy. Now, I'm very hopeful that for your friend who just had that surgery, this is one and only the lifetime. However, I have to be honest that very often the surgery needs to be repeated because the cell keeps regrowing.
I did hear the same thing about the surgery having to be repeated, and I think that's one of the greatest curiosities maybe that I have during this podcast is how can women avoid that repetition of the surgery, and maybe even like the way I know that your endometriosis story went. Is there any possibility to heal like the root cause?
Beautiful that you want to look for the root cause just rather than clearing off the symptoms. I was diagnosed with stage 2. So they are stages 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 is very severe stage of endometriosis. And I have no idea what stage 4 feels because my stage 2, every month, luckily with endometriosis, your cycle is quite regular. Whereas with PCOS, you never know when your period and ovulation will come. With endometriosis, it tends to be very regular. That means that you can predict where the pain is going to hit you. However, some women, they feel pain all month long. In my case, I knew that the first 3 days of my life, I was training dancing. I knew I had to, and you were a teenager. You feel very uncomfortable talking, oh, I'm dying because I got my menstruation. So I would have to always pretend that I'm sick, I'm not feeling well. Because the times, I'm older than you, we weren't so comfortable. Female body menstruation was the time of the subject of taboo. I'm glad now that we're opening up and the society everywhere around the world is more understandable and accepting the concept that there's nothing to be ashamed of. And the reason we're doing this podcast as well, right? So I was on a very strong painkillers every single month because I would faint, I would vomit, I would bleed so much, I couldn't function. I was in bed literally every single month. And this is the case of many of my clients as well. And because the only prospect from medical care I was given was a surgery, and me and hospital, we're not friends, and maybe I'm not brave enough, but just entering the hospital and that smell and the color of white, my mom worked as a medical doctor. I was just so desperate to find anything that would help me to avoid it. And then I started studying English, which contributed to the fact that I was reading medical journals and I was reading anything else holistically possible for me. To see what else I could do for my body, I started getting interested in hormonal health, detox, toxicology, and nutrition. I had very special relationship with chocolate. Sugar and chocolate. I can only say it was a very passionate relationship. I'm not too ashamed. I love sharing it because I think it's going to help many. When I was a student and I was writing my dissertations at night, because that's the best time to study, I would have a jar of Nutella and I would have a spoon and a spoon and a spoon, as two of us, and the jar would be gone within a night. Okay? I mean, if you think a jar of bad quality butter, a lot of sugar, powdered milk, and some sort of chocolate-like substance, inflammatory foods. And then I would feel horrible during the time of my period because I contributed to inflammation in my body. So I knew there is something that needs to change about that relationship in sugar. Slowly, I actually wrote an ebook about it. If anyone is interested, I'm very happy to send them information about how to quit your passionate relationship with sugar and replace it with healthier versions. So the most important thing for me was to quit sugar. I'm not saying I totally quit sugar, but I replaced it with a very good quality dark chocolate. And if I was to have a cake, probably I will bake it now. It's homemade, and my taste buds change. So you don't need so much that food. Also, if you eat more proteins, your body doesn't crave so much energy from glucose. So definitely processed sugar, definitely looking into inflammation in your body. Why? Because women with endometriosis, and endometriosis is autoimmune condition, are predispositioned genetically to higher level of inflammation. Inflammation is a state in a body where the body doesn't function optimally because something is disturbing it. Very often this disturbance is our lifestyle, which is the food we put into our mouth, the nutrition we feed into our mind, okay, everything we feed our brain with, which causes stress, anxiety, all this emotional disturbance, also the amount of sleep and how we move our body. So I looked into all those things. Sticking still to the food, I reduced dairy products. I was lucky, I never loved the milk. I wasn't in love with cheese. Just sometimes kefir and maybe like good quality full fat yogurt. But I've noticed for myself that my body started feeling better. I'm talking only about endometriosis and my periods. But seriously, when you reduce dairy products, and I had sinusitis, if you struggle with eczema, psoriasis, and a skin condition, you also notice. And gluten. And I wouldn't recommend anyone to go for gluten-free products, as of the natural food is stripped of gluten and replaced with something else, because it doesn't make sense. But just looking for foods that doesn't contain gluten. That means eating more veg and fruit, eating more beans, eating more pulses, eating more homemade, warm, liquidish soup. We constantly go for that burger, pizza. This is what I mean, pasta 3 times a day. This will cause inflammation. So this was my start. Then I looked into supplements. And the number one thing I recommend every woman is fish oil. Fish oil is just a beautiful thing. It increases vitamin D levels. It helps your skin for the beautiful glow, elasticity. It helps your joints with any arthritis or anything that's going on. For me, it was that killer for any inflammation in the body. So if I tell you now that for the past, I'm celebrating every year, it's our 17th year that I haven't taken anything during my menstruation, and I can literally function. I can go cycling, swimming, going on holidays, living my life without any pain during menstruation. So if anything, I'm the best evidence that what I'm sharing with you right now works. And I've never had any operation. So I'll be preaching about it for the rest of my life, because I think it's a very important message to share. Continuing also, I don't drink alcohol. Okay, I never did. And I'm not saying you must quit. I'm saying consider reducing the amount of alcohol, because alcohol is also inflammatory. And I know some women will say, yes, but my friend drinks a bottle of wine every evening and she hasn't got endometriosis. I know she doesn't. And I could also say this is not fair. Why do I have, my sister doesn't? But, you know, putting ourselves in a victim mode is not really finding a solution to our problem. So have a glass of good quality wine instead of bottle of some sugary spirit. That would be my idea. And caffeine. I found for myself, I love my coffee, but I'm now drinking only decaf, good quality decaf. You don't want it to be naturally bleached, so stripped of caffeine. There is something called Swiss water method process, and I'm not a chemist to explain it to you, but if you research that provides a good quality, naturally decaffeinated coffee. So it's a beautiful taste of coffee if you like the taste, and slowly your body will get used to functioning without caffeine. But for me, surely was that sugar, no caffeine, and fish oil. These were the three things. I also take other supplements, but maybe that's conversation for another time. These are probably the basics that I would recommend every single woman to try.
Aneta, can you tell us also the explanation for the no caffeine? I'm just gonna do a parenthesis here. I went through a hormonal reset program with Aneta a few years ago, and that's when I've also stopped drinking coffee, and it made so much sense for me then. So I would love that explanation.
Sure. So I will do in general for any human, and I will do for endometriosis. So for endometriosis, simply speaking, is that inflammation. So coffee is highly inflammatory food. Also, when Andrea gets to speak, she will tell you as a psychotherapist, because we already had a little chit chat before we went live, how much endometriosis affects us emotionally, and emotions are driven through cortisol, that hormone of stress. We need a bit of cortisol because cortisol is our motivator. So what I'm trying to say, we need a little stress in life. Think of a little baby. That baby needs that cortisol to stand up and start walking. You need a cortisol to go apply for your new job, to propose to somebody, to do anything you dare and dream to do in life. But you just need a bit, little doses to keep you going, to motivate you, to help you focus. However, if we constantly feel like being chased by a dinosaur, so this is when we've got too much cortisol, that's not healthy for us. That affects and depletes us of everything else. And we don't function well, we don't sleep well. So if we rely on caffeine, and don't get me wrong, that smell of beautifully brewed coffee, you have a cup and you feel like $1 billion babe that you can climb a mountain and, I don't know, learn to speak Chinese within a few minutes, because this is how the brain is wired. And suddenly you notice you're so high, and it starts dropping very quickly. And then you reach either for another coffee or you reach for sugar, because your body is demanding straight away, kick me up, push me up. I want to stay on that high. I want to stay on that level of concentration, clarity. So coffee constantly increases that cortisol feed. That means progesterone is dropping for both male and female. Testosterone more for male, but because this conversation is mostly for females, cortisol and progesterone, they are like two to tango. When one is higher, the other is lower. So when cortisol is increasing and coffee is helping to keep it high, progesterone is constantly dropping. Progesterone is the female hormone that's responsible for keeping our body nicely in tune, keeping our luteal phase, which is the second part of our monthly cycle, straight after ovulation, keeping it equally long as the first part of the cycle. And why this is important? This is important mostly for women who are trying to conceive, but also for every single woman in a reproductive age, because we would love to have healthy body, healthy moods. And therefore, ovulation and progesterone, second part of the cycle, is very important. And caffeine depletes that. So you very soon notice when you allow yourself a week first to recover from coffee addiction, because that probably takes at least a week with the headaches, that you start feeling much better, that you feel that even level of energy with your body, within your mind, without dropping, without desperately asking you to feed it on caffeine or sugar. So I hope that somehow helped to clarify why coffee and caffeine is not so hormone friendly for women.
Yeah.
I guess this also says something about this need for clarity and concentration and just living on that high edge. Just tell something about our general mood, like, because maybe through our lifestyle choices, we are more in a low level functioning, and then this kind of highs, they make it all thrilling, and it feels like Life could be different. But what you're suggesting, and this is for endometriosis, but lifestyle affects absolutely everything. Lifestyle choices, I mean. But I feel this is also valid for for everyone. The way the level of functioning where we actually place ourselves day to day, and through your suggestions, this level could go naturally higher, and we could be steady in a higher level functioning.
So beautifully observed, Andrea. Yes. So let me tell you the average typical example of human being. Okay, watching Netflix till midnight or 1, 2 a.m., catching 5-6 hours of sleep, waking up not naturally but with the alarm clock, starting the day with Instagram, Facebook, and strong coffee, because that's the only way to function. So we know already that we chasing the past. We already on this fast pace. Okay, I need to catch up with the day. I need to catch up with life. Then around 11 o'clock, okay, I need another pick-me-up, maybe another coffee. So we know cortisol is already high. We know hormones are a bit upset, but nobody has the time to tune in with it because we have to function. We need to be high-performing human beings. However, so far we only human doer, not human being. So we on a different level of awareness. We might be on that brain clarity, but we're not aware, we're not conscious of ourselves and world around us. So if we, for starter, counted 8 hours back to the time where we need to wake up, okay, so let's say we need to wake up at 7. If I'm in bed by 11, and instead of doing Netflix, I might be reading a few pages of a relaxing book, or maybe literally, I love to start a day and finish with gratitude practice. It helps to work my neurons in my brain. It takes me maybe 20 seconds. I wake up and first thing in the morning, I find 5 positive things I'm grateful for in my life, that given moment. And the same going to bed. And it doesn't mean that I'm rainbow and unicorns all night long and all day long. I'm not. But reminding myself this positivity in my life helps my energy to keep high. It's like when we call vibrations, right? It's that thing that I'm increasing my vibrations. I'm seeing challenges in life, but because I'm so strong and I'm so centered within, that my body feels relaxed. When my body feels relaxed on the emotional level, the physical body relaxes. When the physical body is relaxed, that body is working for me, healing me. It's working with inflammation as well. It's providing me beautiful digestion. It's providing me good night's sleep. It's increasing my progesterone and keeping my cortisol on the right level. So it's all tuned in, mind and body, and how we respond to it and what we invite and what we expect out of our input as well.
So would you say that maybe people that are suffering from endometriosis should even take more care of themselves emotionally? Even do it extra because they suffer from constant inflammation?
Absolutely. My personal experience and the women I worked with, I know who have endometriosis, autoimmune conditions, they are highly sensitive people. That means that you need to tune in with yourself so you understand what is it that you need when you need. I know we all have lives, families, responsibilities, but just finding, I'm talking about 5 minutes a day when you just for yourself, when you're charging yourself just like your phone. Okay, and it could be literally silence, could be talking to your body in a nice, positive, compassionate way. Praising yourself, because being a woman, let's face it, we never good enough, right? We never pretty enough, we never successful enough, we never slim enough, we never enough. So we need to turn this conversation into feeling enough comes to the world, our bodies, ourselves, about our competences, because this also feeds our brain, feeds our mind, feeds our emotions. Therefore, it heals our body.
Beautiful. I love that. What comes to mind now, from my experience, and also the people I worked with that are going through this condition, that sometimes, so first, this need for self-care feels good, like, because you get positive results, and you see just how well it feels in the body. But after a certain time, it can become like a fatigue, like a care fatigue, like it can become like another one of those to do things, and it can be overwhelming. Especially when the condition is more serious and there are more much more things to look into, and I don't know, food restrictions are more, and I'm curious if you could speak a little bit to that, when or if we reach that point of caring for oneself fatigue. I don't know if this term exists. I just made it up in my mind.
But fatigue is a good term. However, I believe you might be more referring to the effort we put for the results we achieve, and that women may feel like, okay, I'm giving up because it's so much effort and it doesn't bring the results. And I believe it's, you know, in English, there is a saying, constant gratification, which means if I put my effort, I want it right here, right now. Bring me the results, show me the change. And this is normal human behavior. I also work with women for weight loss, and I never offer any crazy diet. We work hormonally, slowly, to work on inflammation, food intolerances, indigestion, blood sugar, and hormonal balance. Because, and I tell them it takes time, at least 3 months, to start noticing the changes in the body. Because my privilege and role is to guide somebody, teach them, educate them, so they understand their body, what works for them. Because one day I want to wave to them. I want to say goodbye. You independently now take care of yourself. I don't want to create people addicted to me and my knowledge. I want them to get their knowledge themselves. So if I tell you that I wasn't feeling amazing over day, I suffered with endometriosis for good 15 years. Okay, and I was back and forth searching for something. Medical system then wasn't offering me anything but painkillers and surgery. So I was doing things in and out. And of course, I was young and I didn't drink coffee. Oh, this feels good. Then I went to Italy for scholarship. No, Spain, it was first. And, cafecito, everyone was having coffee. So I got back onto the coffee addiction. I never drank much, but I could tell straight away. My first menstruation, whoa, I was in so much pain. I knew that. So your body tells you. So now is the question, okay, if I have been struggling, suffering with whatever it is in my life that gives me discomfort, okay, how much am I prepared to invest in terms of effort to feel better? Because I believe if I quit my journey on healing, that means that I don't feel too bad with my discomfort. Oh, I got used to it so much that I would rather feel that pain, discomfort for the rest of my life, that put a little effort, a little work, and start feeling better. Also, if I have been in pain, discomfort for 15 years, it really won't take 2 months that I'm cured and healed, because I would love to believe in miracles, and I know beautiful things are sent to us by universe when we attract it, but we need to contribute it. We need to meet the universe halfway through. Okay. So really those tiny steps. And when you start noticing tiny differences, celebrate that. And let this feed your why, because I believe when we find our why, which is our individual reason for making change, for transformation, for putting more effort, for digging deeper, this is when magic happens. And this is when we closer and closer to feeling much better. And as I said, personal example, the first week without Nutella, I was dying. I'm telling you, I was dying. Or first week without coffee. But I knew I'm up to something. I really want to feel better. I really want to function like my friends then. I wanted to live my life. I didn't want to feel like I'm a disabled person 7 days out of a month, every single month. That I can't travel, I can't go on dancing training, I can't go swimming. I'm in bed dying, crying out of pain. And I knew taking pharmacological drugs from the medical source every month wasn't good for my body. So I needed that change. And I hope that every single person who starts noticing this tiny changes will be pulled and attracted enough to keep going without looking back.
Yeah, I would say that this word celebration is key here, because it does give you the energy to keep going and to also turn it into a new way of living your life, and not a set of measures that you have to take for yourself every single time. And I would say that it just becomes much easier like that.
Yes, beautiful. I know that you're the mind healer as a therapist. So you've got a lot of science research at your expertise. And I'm glad that that positive psychology is being also applied and noticed in any spheres of life. And I truly believe it applies to anything. When we celebrate ourselves and when we celebrate our tiny little successes in whatever it is, maybe learning a foreign language, driving, right? Or maybe cooking, literally anything in life, or having better communication with your partner. Just celebrate anything in life, because it gives you the boost of motivation of keeping doing what you're doing, because you know it's working.
Mm-hmm. And celebration is also like, it marks the ending point of a cycle. It's like, speaking of cortisol, if we remember like the old times when people would go and hunt, they would work up all this energy in themselves to do that. And then when they came back, they had this celebratory moment that they came back. And so this marked in the system itself a point, an end point. Okay, this is done. Now relaxation time can come, or something else.
Yeah, I think that is defined as finishing a stress cycle.
Exactly, a stress cycle, yeah.
And timely said with your Easter celebration, because this is the end of something, right? Of this Lent period, of the long winter, preparation for new beginnings, for new hopes, celebrating with spending time with people you love, you care about, eating special food, right? This is celebration. So at first, when I had 1 month without painkillers, I celebrated. Then the second month, then a year, and literally now is my 17th year, and I'm celebrating in August, because I know it's August, so it's celebration time.
I'm wondering if, like for many other diseases, also with endometriosis, there is a point where a lifestyle change won't solve the matter, and you would rather need to do the surgery. Have you worked with clients that are suffering with extreme cases of endometriosis? Do you think maybe surgery would, for severe cases, would be a solution, and then a change of lifestyle? Because I kind of feel like bringing this up because maybe there are people listening that are in situations that are really very bad right now, and I wouldn't like them to feel, guilty for not being able to just fix it with a lifestyle change right now.
Thank you for this question. And yes, I have been very lucky, and about 70% of my clients, I dare to call them lucky, that just doing the nutritional changes. But as I said, this is just the peak of the iceberg, what I mentioned. I could talk about it for 2 days, what else can be done nutritionally. So please do reach for me if anyone needs further help. Some people who come to me, they've already had laparoscopy and it worked for a little while. Now, as I mentioned, endometriosis sometimes may come together with endometritis and adenomyosis, which is slightly more complex, plus PCOS, or I don't want to use the word incorrect, but the way the uterus is built, that's got one extra corner. I very often saw this with clients. So if you think of uterus, I would think like a beautiful shape of mushroom kind of comes to my mind. And some of the women, about 2% of my clients, they got one extra misaligned corner, and that also complicates the whole situation. And because I did stress that endometriosis comes with higher estrogen level, higher estrogen may contribute to polyps or fibroids, okay, in the uterus, on the reproductive organs. So sometimes this may all come together. And then, yes, diet will contribute, and lifestyle, which is sleep, working on your stress, physical activities, moving the body. I'm not saying running a marathon, because when you've got endometriosis, you don't feel like being an athlete, but a gentle yoga, Pilates, gentle walks, bike rides. This is good exercise because it helps to move blood around your reproductive organs. So this sort of movement is amazing. However, if all these conditions, or at least 2, 3, come together, then laparoscopy, the surgery, will most definitely be needed. One thing I will share now that I read maybe a couple of months ago, it was definitely this side of Christmas, I'm talking 2022, that's university or laboratory of University of Oxford has come up with the blood test that will be able to confirm endometriosis without laparoscopy. So it's an amazing discovery for all the women who have and will be struggling with endometriosis, because instead of that procedure, there'll be blood tests that will be able to confirm if the given patient, the given woman, is suffering from endometriosis. So I think we're moving in the right direction there.
That's great news, yeah.
And as you said, yes, women come to me and they say, I've done everything and, I feel guilty because I'm still in pain. Very often there is the lifestyle factor and genetics. Okay, so if genetics takes over the lifestyle factor and your mother, your sisters, maybe your grandmothers had endometriosis, then we have to apply more rigorous, I would say, treatment and healing. But I haven't yet met the person, the woman, and I've been doing this for 20 years, who hasn't noticed improvements. I'm very hopeful that for everyone who educate themselves enough to suspect they have endometriosis and start going either way they choose that resonates with them, either holistically or medically, I do believe they will start noticing the difference in a positive direction.
Awesome.
That sounds very encouraging, because lifestyle choices are really in our reach. So we can do that. Starting even now or today, we can do small changes around that. And that can be empowering to take over to take over the things that we can do for ourselves to feel better. And I find it also interesting that this that endometriosis just really shouts for self-care. It's like such a condition, just like you were describing, like it takes you out of life and it gives you such excruciating pain that you cannot but self-care. Somehow it it really you cannot bypass it easily. And this is the funny thing with pain, that it comes and it's really annoying and really uncomfortable and we really don't want it, but it also brings us to this self-care that we much easily don't do in our daily life, or don't do enough.
Don't do enough, I guess, is the saying, because as you said, once you recovered, so that the period of menstruation, very painful, is over, and you think, okay, that's it, I don't want to feel like this next month, I'm going to start making changes. Okay. Mm-hmm. But because we're feeling good and we've got this window of 2-3 weeks of feeling fine, we forget about it. Then menstruation comes, or PMS, and you're in so much pain that that's not the time to start making changes. Like I'm saying, 1st of January is not the time to go for detox, ever. Because just after, in the middle of cold, dark season, just after beautiful Christmas delicacies, the most amazing foods, I'm going to be on green juices. There is no way my body or mind will accept it. So we just have to be very realistic that if you want to work on detox, support your liver, start after Easter with the springtime. That's a good time because your body will work with you, not against you. The same if you want to work holistically on your hormones, just so your next menstruation will be better. Start day 6-7 of your cycle, when you finish the bleeding, when your hormones are in the honeymoon peak, when you feel strong and confident. Start with, for example, drinking chamomile tea, ginger tea, nettle tea, beautifully cleanses. Actually, I forgot to mention. So I said, so I'm repeating the knowledge, so we've got a lesson everyone is learning, that endometriosis shows that we've got excess of estrogen in the body. That excess of estrogen is stored in our beautiful organ called liver. So liver is like our recycling pot. So everything goes to liver, and liver decides, okay, this is waste, stay in pancreas for a bit, or this is good, turn into glucose, go around the body. Now, because we live in times where we eat so much processed foods, that we use so much plastic, okay, that we use microwaves, that we constantly next to Wi-Fi, 5G, 4G, whatever that is, that we live in the cities, that we constantly inhale car fuels, we use perfumes, we use makeup. You're seeing I'm flashing my nails, but I hardly ever do that. And I found online natural nail polish, okay? It's only occasional, but just so it doesn't disturb my body. Because everything we put on our skin needs to work like immunity to block it, okay? What it doesn't block, our liver is dealing with it. So all this excess of estrogen is stored in our liver. So from time to time, we need to help our liver to get rid of it. One of the ways is to eat more fiber, more veg and fruit, raw food, okay? Another ways, I would say nettle. Nettle is amazing liver cleanser and also supports healthy level of estrogen and iron. Women with endometriosis are prone to heavy monthly bleeds. That means they are losing a lot of iron. So, yes, eating red meat. Some are vegetarians, some are fine with eating meat. Great thing to do. However, meat contributes to endometriosis, a tiny, tiny research. So I'm not saying going fully vegan. If you feel your body needs meat, eat your meat, get your iron, get your vitamins B complex, drink nettle tea. And I remember that 2 times I was in Romania, you've got so much of herbal knowledge. The country is so open, and because nature is so abundant and generous, drink your nettles. I literally went, I was picking up nettle leaves, drying when I was in Romania in the summer, and making infusions with hot water. So just a little tip, maybe it helps anyone.
It's also going to be the season. I think the summer is the season for nettles, right? We can also eat them. Spring. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, it's actually, I think it's happening right now.
It has begun.
Yeah.
It has begun already.
You want the tiny baby nettle leaves, not the big dark green ones, because they've been already too much on the sun. They are deprived of chlorophyll and the magnesium ion. So you want the baby, just like Andrea said, spring, the tiny, tiny leaves. They also don't sting when you pick them up. So take the bag. Whenever I go for the forest walks, people are looking at me. I literally pick up nettle leaves. They are everywhere. They are like weeds. You take them home, dry them, or drink them as they are.
Ah, fabulous talk. Even if I'm not personally suffering from endometriosis, I feel like you've given so much insight into what we can do for our well-being and hormonal balance. I have, like, my last question is also with my friend in mind. She was told to, like, now is the time to have a baby. She's also, I don't know exactly her age right now, but she was told you should have a baby right now because it might also support you healing the endometriosis. So I just wanted to ask if you know anything about this baby making, healing endometriosis.
I'm glad you used the word "it might." Okay, because there's a strong conviction and belief that, okay, have a baby, it will help. So in about 60-70% having a baby, that is, we're talking giving birth naturally. It's the release of the hormone prostaglandins. Actually, I don't want to mix too much with hormones, but for women who feel that strong pain and cramps that are described for me, felt like stabbing in a belly or someone kicks you, it's the increased level of prostaglandins. And prostaglandins is nothing else than when I described endometrium and when embryo didn't settle or conception didn't happen, uterine lining is shedding off, it's cleansing, so that monthly bleeds happens. So our uterus needs to contract. So it contracts to cleanse and release. And in women with extra inflammation and endometriosis, these contractions are so strong through increased prostaglandins. Therefore, it literally feels like giving birth pains. So giving birth, not through C-section, but naturally, may help. However, getting pregnant may be a problem. Okay, with endometriosis, because it may affect eggs quality. So I wouldn't like to go into such a bad case scenario as miscarriage or chromosomal abnormalities, but that poor quality egg and the host, which is the uterus, inflammation, may not support conception. That means that sperm and embryo may not meet. So in very lucky cases and scenarios, if women is under 35, sure, 70% will succeed, and there is a hopeful news that they will feel better. However, I had personally few clients, they felt better after giving birth, and they gave up on my lifestyle advice because they had a baby, and you wake up at night and you feed every 2-3 hours. They got back onto the lifestyle of surviving on coffee and sugar. So if you implement everything together, step by step, without putting yourself into, I need to do it all right now. No, tiny step. Choose today, maybe drinking a netsu, maybe finding chamomile tea, maybe sticking to 1 cup of coffee a day, maybe reducing your alcohol, or working on your relationship with sugar, or addressing your sleep and managing your stress differently. Just tiny little steps, but just so you feel this is a journey, a life project to your healing, and not short-term fix. So find a way. It's Project You, and you've got all life to create the best relationship with yourself, living the best, happiest life, and feeling the most amazing in your body. You're a goddess inside out. So allow yourself time to live it, to feel it, to function that way as well.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
You see, Andrea, why I wanted to do an episode with Aneta? Can you feel the inspiration?
Yeah. I can, and I fully trust your choices. I love the people that you bring to our conversation.
Wow, you sweet ladies. I'm just a mirror, I'm just taking it all from you. It's just a mirror.
Well, maybe we are also mirrors to you.
When powerful women come together and they are not afraid of their powers, beautiful thing happens. So our mission is just to empower more females.
True.
Totally stand by that.
So tell us, for anyone listening who would like to work with you, how can they contact you? What are you offering? Is there anything that you're planning for the near future?
Probably the freshest, most exciting news is that my book, How to Get Pregnant, Shortcuts to Your Fertility, is coming out. And although the title says How to Get Pregnant, the book is for any woman in reproductive age who would like to balance her hormones. It can be for a teenager and 20-something. If they would like to balance their hormones or planning on pregnancy one day, so they understand how hormones work and how to feel empowered about their bodies and be their own advocate in front of the medical system. So that book is already the publisher and will be out May time. I so hope so. You can find that book and more information at howtogetpregnantshortcut.com. But also you can find all the information that myself and my team share. Possibly Instagram is the best source under the Wellness Designer. And you can contact me via that platform. It could be for a little chat. It could be for a session. It could be for a group coaching. I also offer Tuesday evening yoga sessions, and those sessions happen to be female-oriented with autoimmune conditions and fertility challenges. That's 8:30 p.m. Romanian time. It's 1 hour online, so if you come back from school, from work, and you've had your dinner, you rested, you can join us. It's a very gentle practice. I don't like to call it a yoga class because it's a well-being session. We work on mindfulness, meditation, breathing techniques, mindset, and also physical body moves for healthy reproductive health, which is representation of our general well-being.
Beautiful.
Sounds lovely.
Congratulations for your book.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I can't wait for this baby to be out because it's been on my mind for about 20 years. And I heard the universe was talking to me from my clients, please write about it, please write about it. And it felt it's about time to help more women to be empowered and feel in charge of their bodies, because when we know better, we do better, right?
Thank you very much, Aneta. Thank you
And
very,
thank
very
you
much.
for your time and everyone to listen as well. Wishing you a beautiful, blissful, and restful Easter. And
Thank
new
you very
beginnings.
much.
New beginnings, yeah.
New beginnings, always.
So see you next week. And thank you so much for
I will
listening.
tune in as well.
Ah.